We're going to think a little bit about what is it like to be part of an agile organization, particularly from a perspective of a business analyst. Perhaps some of you are business analysts and are facing the prospect of becoming part of an organization, perhaps that's doing that. Perhaps you're in transition, or perhaps you're already there but wondering, what am I supposed to do? How do I fit in? A lot of people asking questions like this. I present on this and other topics all around the globe, and a lot of people are wondering, what's next for me? So as we turn to slide number 9, we're going to begin considering what some of the basic challenges are that are addressed by Agile and how business analysts fit in. We're going to get specifics along the way here about what it means for you. I'm going to be very interested in looking forward to your questions that Susan will be taking and will be able to address at the near closer to the end of the talk. So I don't know if you've noticed, but it's in the trade press, it's in business journals. There are fundamental shifts that are driving our economies, the very structure of the products that we build, the nature of the processes that we use to build these products. This is not a fad or something that's transitional, as this Harvard Business School faculty quote mentions. These are fundamental changes that are deep. They're been at work for a long time, and so Agile is, in one way, from the part of the world where we develop software business solutions, is helping to address that. So if we turn to slide number 10, considering those kinds of economic drivers, what is our core challenge? If you think about what's the very nature of system development or software development, and you might want to compare your own life experience, your work life experience, to whether your situation is all about well understood static problems demanding very definable, predictable processes like manufacturing something or building a building. Is it like shooting a Zeppelin with cannons? I don't know if you're familiar with Zeppelins, but we're kind of familiar with the Goodyear blimp. These are slow-moving objects. They kind of float through the sky. And even if we weren't artillery experts, we could probably take aim and, after a couple of tries, hit one of these Zeppelins with a cannon. Or is your work really more like towards the bottom of this slide, where it's more about exploration, lots of unknowns. In fact, sometimes we don't even know what we don't know. That demands a very fluid learning process, a learning process that causes us to have to interact with other people, so it's a social learning process. And so it's like mountain climbing, where we begin our climb but have to adapt and figure out our way as we go along, or as we improvise in a jazz performance situation. Is your work more like tracking fighter jets, fast-moving fighter jets with self-guided missiles? I'm guessing a lot of you think that it's probably more like the latter than the former, that the objects, our business objectives, are not slow-moving, well-defined, clear to see. It's more like a fighter jet that you maybe only get a glimpse of it as it's going past, and it's actually hard to discern what our target is. And these ideas, by the way, are from an article and actually a later book called The Laws of Software Process, written by one of my associates, Phil Armour. I commend that article in the book for you to read. So our world is moving faster. If we turn to slide 11, our world is moving faster around us. Cannons no longer work for us as tools for getting the work done. And so when we take a look at slide number 11, there's some evidence here of what some people came together to define is what's the new way of doing things. And so the response to these changing shifts in our economies and the speed of work accelerating from slow-moving Zeppelins to fast-moving jet planes. And here on this slide 11, we see just a couple of examples of principles that are well known now as the Agile Manifesto. And here, the emphasis is on, my emphasis anyway, on showing this slide, is I run into a lot of confusion about what these really mean. I find that in a lot of cases, people say, oh, it's all about working software. And we don't do documentation of any kind. That's not what it says. In fact, we see here, Alistair Coburn reminds us, these 4 points are a values declaration. It's not a methodology or methodology or process tool, and he also emphasizes it's one over the other. So we favor working software over comprehensive documentation. Doesn't exclude documentation. Same thing, responding to change over following a plan. Doesn't mean that we don't plan. Of course we plan, even in agile environments. It's about a more intimate partnership-like collaborative relationship with the customer over an adversarial contract negotiation. But do we have agreements? Do we have understandings about what's to be done? Do we have expectations? Sure we do. And then finally, indeed, it's about people. It's about you. It's about the gifts that you bring to a project team over process steps and perhaps compliance with frameworks and particular tools and that sort of thing. So it's about people, it's interactions, but indeed, Agile is process-oriented. There are clearly things that you do one before the other, and that's process in perhaps its most fundamental form. So the Agile Manifesto helped us try to reorient our thinking towards this new world, responding to shifting economies and accelerating timelines. As we turn our attention to slide number 12, there are 4 points I'd like you to consider on slide 12. Given that Agile Manifesto, and you can find that on the web if you haven't already read it, I suggest that you take a new, fresh look at it with these 4 questions in mind. How close are your personal views and values aligned and in resonance with the values of the Agile Manifesto? You may find that it's going to be an adjustment. How about the program or project that you're on? How closely, what are the realities? What are the ground truths about the views and values at work within the program that you perhaps are working in right now to those expressed in the manifesto? How about your organization at large, the overall enterprise organization of people? How well, is it just pockets of the organization that perhaps are yearning for, have an appetite for these values and views, or is it the entire organization? And what does it mean that if we're not? And then finally, you're providing services and business solutions to some customer that brings money through your doors, and what are their views and what are their values, and are they aligned with the manifesto? These are some things for you to think about, perhaps not just now, but after we conclude the webinar today, and determine what's really the right fit for you. On slide number 13, I like Jim Highsmith's quote here. And we'll just kind of take a quick look at it together. It's about, it's a cautionary tale about, unfortunately, many organizations want prescriptive agility. Now, just give me the 4 to 8 steps. We're going to copycat that. A lot of consultants actually, not just some, but a lot that are prescribing exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, and now you've got Agile. Somehow, what's left out of that mix, and this is a caution for you, is a key piece of what makes Agile successful is adaptation. There's an adapting piece that Jim Highsmith here talks about. And in fact, isn't prescriptive agility an oxymoron? And maybe it's just moronic. So becoming Agile is a process, not a goal. It's a journey. It's kind of trite but true. It's a process of learning. So be prepared, if you're not already becoming involved in an Agile approach to doing work, that there's going to be lots more learning every single day, and it's about adapting, not prescribing. On slide number 14, we turn our attention to these 3 points. If we think of yourself, if you think of yourself as a business analyst or a project manager or a programmer or whatever, you're going to find that there's a new orientation that you're going to experience in those teams that are working towards more agile approach to getting work done. It's about the work, not the role in the title. Some Agile teams might not have a team member that's designated as a quote-unquote business analyst. There might actually be a variety of people on